Нью-Йорк, Нью-Йорк. Город мечты и суровой реальности. Яркий и пестрый. Серый и мрачный. Он полон свободы и резких контрастов. В нем уживаются блеск и нищета, классика, модерн и постмодерн, 21 век и далекое прошлое. Многие столетия Нью-Йорк остается доминирующим глобальным финансовым центром мировой торговли и местом рождения американских культурных течений в области литературы и визуального искусства. До недавнего времени город являлся родиной самых высоких зданий в мире, включая печально известные башни-близнецы Всемирного торгового центра, трагически разрушенные 11 сентября 2001 года. В современном Нью-Йорке множество культовых достопримечательностей, одной из которых по праву является исламский центр округа Манхэттен, самой большой в городе мечетью, которую посещают практически все нью-йоркские мусульмане. Имам этой мечети – известный религиозный дипломат и лауреат различных государственных премий Мухаммед Шамси Али, лично знаком со многими американскими политиками и консультирует правительство по проблемам мусульманского сообщества в США. Шамси Али сопровождал тогдашнего президента Джорджа Уокера Буша к эпицентру трагедии 11 сентября и поддержал теперешнего президента Барака Хусейна Обаму в постройке на этом месте скандально известного исламского центра. Популяризатор ислама и отец 5 детей, 43-летний имам Шамси, любезно согласился встретиться с нами сразу же после делегации бельгийских журналистов, снимавших репортаж об успехах консолидации мусульманского сообщества в Америке.
It is the fastest growing religion in the United States and even faster after September 11th. In fact, it is 1 compared to 4. So even like before September 11 happens, one person, the increase is 4 times after September 11.
La ilaha, la ilaha, illallah, Muhammad, Rasulullah.
And I mean the growth of Islam is not only by number here, but by all dimensions, by all grounds. By number, yes, there are many non-Muslims are learning, and at the end they found that Islam is, at least I said, the good religion for them to follow. So they become Muslims. Because I don't want to sometimes saying the truth. Because Christian people also believe that Christianity is truth. So let's say it's the good for them. So many of non-Muslims are turning to Islam after September 11, and that is by number is growing.
Отметив неуклонную исламизацию Америки после трагедии 11 сентября, Шамси Али с нескрываемым восторгом поведал о всеобъемлющем проникновении мусульман в важнейшие финансовые и государственные структуры, включая департамент полиции и кампанию нынешнего мэра Нью-Йорка Майкла Блумберга.
Well, good evening and Ramadan Kareem. And I want to welcome everyone to our annual Ramadan Iftar at Gracie Mansion. Islam did not attack the World Trade Center. Al-Qaeda did. To implicate all of Islam for the actions of a few who twisted a great religion is unfair and un-American. Today, we are not at war with Islam. We are at war with Al-Qaeda and other extremists who hate freedom.
The most important that Islam has become even an integral part of the nation. We have Muslims in Congress, we have Muslims in the White House, we have Muslims in state assembly in different states, we have Muslims in the city council here in New York City, we have many Muslims working for Bloomberg in the city, many Muslims with the NYPD. Last year, for example, in 2010, out of 1,200 new recruited police in New York, around 300 are Muslims. So you can imagine that more Muslims within the NYPD systems. And that's what I mean, that Islam is growing rapidly in the United States. And because of that, Islam also has become more popular. I mean, non-Muslims not only want to be friends with Muslims, but they also want to accommodate Islam in their institutions. How many times that I have been invited to the synagogue to talk about Islam, to the churches to talk about Islam. There is a Ramadan conference at the NYPD, there is an Eid al-Fitr celebration at the City Hall, etc., etc. So Islam has penetrated into all institutions, governments and non-governments. And so I feel that despite of the challenges that we are facing, the hearing in the Congress by Peter King, for example, is a challenge. Because this is the first time in the history of this nation a hearing is taking place in the Congress in the name of a community. In the past, there were Christian radicals. No hearing against Christian community. There were certain time in the past that there are some Jews are radicals. They used to call themselves Jewish Defense League. It becomes a terrorist organization right now. We didn't have any congressional hearings. But now you have some fringe number of Muslims become radicals, you have this hearing in Congress. So it's very bad for us. It's a challenge.
Занимаясь откровенным маркетингом ислама с человеческим лицом и сетуя на несправедливое отношение Конгресса США и администрации некоторых штатов к попытке узаконить шариат на государственном уровне, брат Шамси договорился до того, что свел этот жестокий и поражающий своей дикостью закон к диетическим предпочтениям в еде и уверенно заявил, что в весьма недалеком и уже обозримом будущем вся Америка будет жить по законам шариата.
Many states want to pass a resolution against the Sharia. Now, what is Sharia here? Sharia is Muslims' life in connection with religion. It's not about cutting a hand or killing or stoning adulterers. No. Sharia is not, that is Sharia in the past. Sharia right now is, do you eat halal or not? It is about how to live your life. So if you say Muslims have no right to practice Sharia in the state, so don't have the mosque. Don't have Muslim at all. Because as long as you have Muslims in the state, Sharia will be practiced in the state. And in fact, Newt Gingrich, who is one of the possible candidates of president from Republicans, he was the first one who allowed the Muslim to do Jummah, Friday, service in the Congress when he was a speaker. Now he is the person who is speaking out against the Sharia. So I used to say, the person who brought Sharia into Congress is now against Sharia. That is the person, Newt Gingrich. And so I think I used to say, that there is a mixture right now between being blessed as Muslims in the state because we have freedom to practice our religion, we can talk to anybody about Islam. Islam is more perceived, more popular right now. But in the same time, we have to acknowledge the existence of challenges.
Весь этот моноспектакль продолжался до тех пор, пока Эдип не вступил с имамом в диалог, подняв вопрос об источниках шариата, хадисах и сунне.
I do agree. I think there is a segment in this population. There are people who feed on confrontation and promotion of phobias and paranoia. And they want to depict all Muslims as terrorist juxtaposition of terrorism with Muslims. I overheard, I entirely agree with you. I say, more in fact radical, I say if Muslims are terrorists, if we generalize on Muslims, then Christians are terrorists 666 times, because those who claim to be Christians, they kill more people just in this last decade, or Jews kill more Palestinians than Palestinians killed. Civilians, children we are talking about. Anyway, I want to come to this point. There is right now, great debate going. I don't know whether you are following forums or internet debates or something in Muslim world regarding what is Islam? What are the sources of Islam? If there are one, the Quran, which was early Muslims, they follow the Quran alone. As you remember, I don't know whether you remember Bukhari, Muslim, Tirmidhi, these have been gathered 230, 300 years later, correct? And in those books even, there are statements attributed to Umar bin Khattab and other Sahaba, Hasbuna Kitabullah, God's book is enough for us. They rejected to follow any hadith and sunnah. Sunnah is another distortion, these arguments going on. There says Sunnah is God's, in the Quran, it says Sunnatullah, Sunnatullah. What does it mean? God's law. But the meaning of the Sunnah is changed. It's made Muhammad's lifestyle like Sunnah Muhammad, correct? And then it is medieval Arab culture is sanctified in the name of Sunnah to Muhammad, which is not, it's just against the Quran, because the Quran says there is only God's law, Sunnatullah. Now, this argument is very interesting because there are many right now, Muslims are confused. They say we are Sunni, but Muhammad was not Sunni. They say we are Shia, Muhammad was not Shia. There's sectarian division. And there is confusion about Sharia. A moment ago you said Sharia is not hand cutting, but all the sects, they consider hand cutting as a punishment because the reading of the Quran is a little bit, I think,
literal.
Literal, because the word فَقْطَعُوا أَيْدِيَهُنَّ, it also means cutting the relationship of their hand with the crime, or mark, like in chapter Yusuf says mark, فَقَطَعْنَ أَيْدِيَهُنَّ. The woman cut their fingers. They didn't cut off, it was marking. Therefore, multiple meaning of the verse. And stoning to death, which is, I think, one of the most abhorrent thing to watch, to see a human being is stoned to death by other human being, and which is not in the Quran, which is fabricated, but it entered Bukhari, it entered all other so-called kutub sitta, sahih books, and also the most bizarre, ridiculous story is fabricated. I don't know whether you are familiar about the hungry goat eating the stone in the verse. Are you familiar with that? Have you heard? According to this hadith, says there was a stoning verse. Have you heard about it? الشيخ والشيخة إذا زنيا فرجموهما البتة نكالا من الله. And somehow a sheikh or a sheikha in Quranic language really means old people.
It is understood as they are married people.
Yeah, married people, which is different than the Quranic language. Basically, the word itself shows it is different. The source is different. But anyway, the meaning, they say, if it is married, you stone them to death as a punishment from God. And you say, well, this is not in the Quran. But hadith book says, as hadith fabricated, says, well, it was written on leather, and it was under Aisha's bed. After Prophet Muhammad's death, a hungry goat entered the room and ate this verse, the letter. And therefore the verse is abrogated. Qutayba, in his book, Defense of Hadith, he's trying to defend it, saying, well, it is an animal, God can send an animal to abrogate his verse. Well, this is first after Prophet Muhammad's death. And second, even if goats eat it, it doesn't disappear. There are verses, Quranic manuscripts can burn, still it is in the mind, heart of those who have knowledge.
Okay, so what is your particular question
My
here?
particular question, I want to come. Now, Muslim world is backward. The reason is because of these volumes of liturgy created centuries after Prophet Muhammad. Whatever you do, my dear brother, this Muslim world, as long as you don't show the bravery to challenge those books, they distort the message of the messenger, like Saint Paul and later those who had fabricated Trinity distorted the message of Christianity. We fell far away from the Quran. The only complaint of the messenger, brother Shamsi, is what in the Quran? Do you remember? The only complaint. Let me say that and then give you the word.
Столкнувшись с осведомленностью собеседника в данном вопросе, имам растерялся и насторожился, подавляя негодование и разочарование от того, что был втянут в этот неприятный для него разговор по душам.
I don't know what is the purpose of this documentary, because you asked me about the Muslims in the state of September 11, and now you come to the substance of Quran and Sunnah.
Yeah.
Now, first of all, I agree with you on some issues, but I disagree on some. Number one, that there are some points in Islam that certainly in need of the hadith. Okay, the way we pray, for example, you know,
where do you get this?
Okay, there is no in the Quran say raise your hand, put your hand, stand, and okay, you don't find that. The Quran simply says.
I used to say the same thing. I was a Sunni like you. I used to exactly say the same thing. I need these contradictory nonsense books in order to be able to
Now, you want to debate with me or you want to interview me? Otherwise, I take this out. Okay, I don't want to be interviewed in that way. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I cannot be interviewed in that way. You want to debate or you want to interview
Go ahead,
me?
let me
Okay, I'm sorry. This is a State Department TV or what?
Обстановка накалилась и вышла из-под контроля имама, и он не нашел ничего лучшего, как возмутиться, устроить скандал и попытаться сбежать от собеседника. Но Эдип смог остановить его, хотя и ненадолго.
Why you are escaping from saying these are people, listen, Muslims in the world, they are discussing this issue. Your imam have responsibility.
Okay, you asked me,
but
you are now pretending yourself as a scholar coming to debate me, not to ask me a question. I know.
I'm Muslim.
But now you are starting attacking the hadith of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
It's not hadith of Prophet.
Now when I give you an example of the salah, tell me where in the Quran says 5 times a day.
Okay.
В безуспешных попытках оправдаться имам Шамси Али забыл о своем высоком духовном сане и стал все чаще перебивать собеседника оскорблениями и обвинениями в богохульстве в духе средневековых традиций Святой Инквизиции.
Are you ready to hear? I said I used to believe like you. The Quran.
Okay, and that's you have the right.
Let me give you. The Jewish people, my dear brother, when God told them sacrifice a heifer, they say what color it is. God
That's
says,
because you want to follow the Jews.
No.
Tell me where in the Quran
this
says.
This example is for you.
Okay, tell me where in the Quran says that sit down before salam.
Okay. Again, you got.
No, now you are.
You don't let me to answer.
No, you are among the Inkar Sunnah. You are among the Inkar Sunnah. Okay.
You don't let
so
me
I
to
don't
answer.
have. I am here not to debate. I am here to be interviewed.
To preach.
No, I am not here to be preached. To preach. It's not the time. If you want to come to my class.
Okay.
Okay, but I don't have time.
Why you
I don't have time.
You ask your question, let me answer and then.
No,
but you don't let me.
I don't let you answer because I'm not asking you questions. Okay? Assalamu alaikum.
Исчерпав свое красноречие и все еще пытаясь сохранить лицо, имам Нью-Йорка, продолжая грубо огрызаться, бросился прочь, подобно зебре, убегающей ото льва.
This is ridiculous. You are coming to interview and coming to debate.
Because you are selling a bunch of garbage, leave this Muslim
You are
backward.
garbage coming here.
No,
you
listen.
bring your own garbage.
These books, contradictory books.
Okay, you have the right to say, but you don't have to bring it to me.
Well, this is the books that
eat your own
the Muslim
groceries.
women put behind the veil from head to toe because of those hadith books.
Where is it? I don't disagree with it from head to toe. That is yours.
It is in hadith books. It is Shafi and Hanbali.
Where does it says?
Well, do you think they are fabricating?
No, you are always accusing
Which
of
one
these
is?
scholars, and you are just coming here bringing your own crazy. Please.
Crazy?
Please, I don't have to debate with.
But you are exposed. You are exposed now. You are escaping. You are escaping from simple debate. Yes.
Реакция имама напомнила ситуацию на турецком телевидении, когда оппонент Эдипа Юкселя, профессор и бывший министр Турции по делам религии Сулейман Атеш, спешно удалился во время прямого эфира.
Sen Allah'a saygısızsın, Allah'a Muhammed'le sınırlıyorsun. Esas en büyük saygısızlık bu.
Hocam gitmeyin de
Sen
bize
Allah'a
aydın
hakkıyla takdir etmiyorsun. Allah'a hakkıyla takdir etmiyorsun. Kur'an'ın bilgisini bir insan olan Muhammed'le sınırlıyorsun.
Hocamızın bilgilerinden yararlanalım isterseniz.
Sen sadece Allah diyorsun, Allah'a saygısızlık mı ediyorsun? Bütün mesele bu. Esas temelinde, cehaletin temelinde şey var. Muhammed
Peki bir reklam arası, bir reklam. Hocam buyurun burada söyleyin.
When you look at hadith, basically, we find the biggest insults to Prophet Muhammad in Bukhari in hadith. Those Sunnis, Shiites, who get angry to Salman Rushdie or to other people who insult Prophet Muhammad, and they should look at the mirror and get angry to themselves because they praise, they consider the works of these books, hadith books, as the holy book besides the Quran. They call it Sharif, while they contain so many insults, like Prophet Muhammad, according to these books, is sexual maniac, and he's basically married, according to this book, while he was 54 years old, married Aisha while she was 9 years old, a pedophile, according to these books. He was not a moral leader at all, because one of the hadith says he cut the hands and arms of a group of suspects of murdering his shepherd, and he gouged their eyes with hot nail and left them in the desert thirsty, and he didn't even allow them to get water while they were dying last moment.
Большинство служителей религиозных культов строят свою веру на двух конях – невежестве и высокомерии. Им приходится прилагать неимоверные усилия и погонять двух соревнующихся коней с одной скоростью и в одном направлении, чтобы не быть разорванными на части. Бойтесь наездников, скачущих на двух скакунах одновременно.